All right, good morning. Algebra 1A. I am currently probably in Hayes with the math relays team, hoping that some of our kids do well on these math tests that they're taking out here. Today, with math, you guys are going to do a little bit more solving equations. Today, we're specifically going to focus on the distributive property. So, yesterday or last class, we focused on the combining like terms idea with multi-step equations. We talked about combining like terms and then solving from there. So go ahead and find, this is I think day 8 in your notes is what we started with on Tuesday. So find day 8 in your notes, solving multi-step equations. And I'll wait just a second while you guys turn to that in your notes and get that ready to go. So I'll pause here just a second, finding day 8 in your notes. All right, so like I said, Tuesday in class, we talked about solving equations that involved combining like terms. And we did 4 examples. You guys did a worksheet. If you have not finished this worksheet from last class, you'll need to finish this worksheet from last class and go ahead and get that turned in here in a little bit. When you have some time to work on homework, if you need to, you can finish this and turn it into the basket. Today, though, I want you to go ahead and turn the page to example 2 here that says the distributive property. Okay. Now, as you recall, we talked about this yesterday or Tuesday, that we did the distributive property earlier this year. So this is going to be pretty quick, and it should be mostly review, because this is something that we have done already. Now we just have to do it before we can finish solving this equation. So, quickly recapping the distributive property. Remember, we take the number that is out in front, and this is understood that that is multiplication there between that -2 and the parentheses. That's multiplication. So we're going to take and use multiplication to distribute the -2 to both the b and to the -4. So we're going to take -2 times b, and here's where you have to be very careful. We're also going to take a -2 times a -4. And I said this on Tuesday a lot, and I'm going to keep harping on it. Slow down and pay attention to your signs. A lot of you guys are missing easy points because you just ignore this negative or you just ignore this negative. Slow down and put the signs on the numbers. That is a -2 that we are distributing. So this has to be a -2. This is a -4 that we are multiplying that -2 by. There's a negative in front of that 4. A minus and a negative are the same thing. A lot of you guys are confused by that. A negative and a minus are the same thing. So this is a -4. So we have a -2 times a -4. Now we go ahead and do that multiplication. -2 times b is a -2b. And a -2 times a -4. A negative times a negative, that turns into a positive. So that turns into a positive 8. Be careful with the signs. This is where a lot of you were making mistakes earlier this year. A lot of you made mistakes on the last test. Be careful with the signs. So the distributive property, if you recall from Tuesday, that is the very first thing that we look for. In all the problems that we're going to be doing today, all of them are going to have the distributive property. Okay, so we're going to do that distributive property first. Now, for the sake of what we're doing today, after you do the distributive property, everything is then going to just be a 2-step equation. It's not always going to be that way, but for today, after you do the distributing, we're going to end up with a 2-step equation to solve. So now to solving, we're jumping down to step 4 in our process. We're going to subtract that 8 from both sides. And that's going to give me -2b is equal to 4. We add or subtract to get rid of this number by that's adding or subtracting, so we do the inverse. It's a +8, so we do a -8. And then finally now to get rid of this -2, this is -2 times b, So we're going to do the inverse of it. We're going to divide by a negative 2 on both sides. And that's going to give me b equals a negative 2. Okay. All right, let's look at 3 more examples with this, and then we'll get you going with your homework. It should be a lot of time to get some work done today. Okay, let's look at the next example here. On this one, we're solving here on the right-hand side. We're trying to get the p by itself. That is in the parentheses, so we have to do the distributive property first. We're going to take that 2 and distribute it to the 8, and we're also going to distribute the 2 to the p. So this is going to be 2 times 8, and it is a positive 2, so it's going to be plus 2, and we're multiplying that 2 by a p, so we have a 2 times 8, and we have a positive 2 times a positive p. Positive 2, positive p. So 2 times 8 is going to give me 16. I wrote 18. I can do simple math. 2 times 8 is 16, and 2 times p is 2p. So we've done the distributive property. We rewrite the problem. And like I said, now that we've done the distributive property on the problems that we're going to do today, after we do the distributive property, it's just going to be a 2-step equation from there. Eventually we'll add in other layers, but for now we're going to start pretty simple. To finish solving this now, I'm going to subtract the 16 from both sides. Because again, I'm trying to get the p by itself, so I got to get rid of the 16 first. Subtracting the 16, 22 minus 16 is going to give me 6. On the other side of the equation, 16 minus 16 is nothing. That's 0. It goes away. So we have a positive 2p that we have left to bring down. And so now we got to get rid of that 2. Again, that's 2 times p, so we're going to get rid of it by dividing by 2 on both sides. Dividing by 2 gives me 3 equal to p, or p equal to 3, however you want to write that. Okay, let's look at this one. The distributive property. Here on the left-hand side, we've got to take the 3 and distribute it to the k and to the 8. So we're going to have 3 times k. And we're also going to have 3 times 8. Three times k is 3k. 3 times 8 is 24. And again, now that we have this distribution, the distributive property done, now what we have to do, finishing this out, is simply solve the 2-step equation that's left. So to solve the 2-step equation, first I'm going to subtract the 24 from both sides. On the left-hand side, that's going to leave me with 3k. And on the right-hand side, 21 minus 24 gives me a negative 3. Again, slow down and pay attention to your signs. You're going to get tired of hearing me harp on that. But until we get everybody that is actually paying attention to the signs, I'm going to keep harping on it. Slow down, pay attention to your signs. Now to finish, we got to get the k by itself. We got to get rid of this 3. So we're going to divide by 3 on both sides. And that's going to give me 1k, or k equal to negative 1. Okay, one last example here. This one's again with this -4. We have to be a little bit careful with that. By the way, highlighters might help some of you guys to pay attention to those signs if you highlight that number. Sometimes that helps. So I'm going to take this -4 and I'm going to distribute it to the 2k, and I'm also going to distribute it to the 6. So I'm going to have a -4 times a 2x. I'm also going to have a -4. So it is a -4 that we put here because we're taking a -4 and multiplying it. So it's a -4 times a 6. And then on the other side, we still have that equals -40. So now going ahead and doing this multiplication, -4 times 2x is a -8x. And a -4 times 6 is a -24. Bring the rest of this down. And I'm going to emphasize it again. You heard me say it a lot earlier this year. Take the time, slow down, write out the steps. When you try to skip steps, you get it wrong. Same thing here. Take the time, rewrite the problem. That way you don't make mistakes. Now, like I said, we have a two-step equation. To solve this, we're going to get rid of this -24. Doing the inverse, we're going to add 24. It's going to leave me on the left-hand side with a -8x. And on the right-hand side, -40 plus 24 is a -16. And now to finish solving this, we're going to divide both sides by a -8. And that leaves me with just 1x over here on the left-hand side. -8 divided by a -8 is a 1. Remember, you got to take the negative with it. Don't forget the sign. And over here, -16 divided by a -8. -16 divided by -8. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So we get x equals 2. All right. Now the sub is going to pass out the worksheet for today. There is a back side to it, so don't forget the back side. If and when you finish it, remember you need to be respectful of those that are still working. Find something else to work on quietly. We're not going to have any problems with distractions and disrupting others from getting their work done. So when you get it done, you can turn it into the basket. Find something else to work on until the end of the class today. And we will see you on Monday. Have a great evening. We'll see y'all later.